coaches corners. Like maybe this is the way it was always meant to be, just us.
Yeah, it seems like it,
conversation. It seems to just be being pushed that way, with like an ad here and there, but like.
Well, I feel like when we first started these, I had a lot of pressure because my voice was still
fair
where it was, and now it seems like
I just feel like conversations,
talking,
right?
Yeah,
fair. I was laughing at that. I was listening to the last one, and I was just like, we're kind of recording these, hoping that people get something from them, but at the same time, we're just kind of chatting.
We're getting something from it too.
Yeah, agreed. So like, it's been an interesting last couple weeks. Welcome everybody. Obviously, my name is Lyndon, and this is
Coach Devi, putting my socks on.
We're actually coaches over at Getting It Daily, which is a facility located in Rochester, New York, where we help people change their relationship with food and fitness. We decided to do something called Coach's Corner, and I'm only introing ourselves because if we don't intro ourselves every once in a while, people would be watching this and having no idea where it's from. So we wanted to make sure that you know that we help people reach their personal fitness goals. And we take a different approach. You go to your average space, most of the time, it's like you get your physical program, they walk through you, they help you out a little bit. But we like to take a holistic approach to what we do. Ironically, it brings up today's topic saying that. So like, we take a very what's meant for you approach to fitness. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if that would be a successful business, honestly. I thought this might fail, right? I was like, it might not go so well, right? Like letting people, hearing what their goals are, and then sharing how we think they can get there is absolutely a name of the game when it comes to training.
Yep.
However, when I say, no, you can take your time getting there, most people are like, that's not what they pay you for. That's not efficient,
Mm-hmm.
I learned a while back that most people coming in seeking a thing usually are sharing something for what they think they're supposed to do, not what they actually want, right? So like somebody will say, I want to lose 30 pounds. And then I'll ask the question, why 30 pounds? Why not 35? Why not 20?
That's how much I weighed back in high school.
What are you thinking? Exactly. See, you've heard the answer so many times,
Mm-hmm.
you know the answer, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's actually really, really important, is that our care is a brave approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used to love my man Julius, shout out to Jules. He moved down south,
Mm-hmm.
and he would have clients come in. They were very weight loss focused, like all the time. And one lady came in and she was like, how long is it gonna take me to lose, let's say 40 pounds? And he said, well, how long did it take you to put it on? Right? And she was so mad, right? She was so upset in her face. And it was all about, ma'am, it's a process, right? Like he was trying to tell you it was a process. He just was a little, let's say, not so nice about it. But I appreciate people like that. I've gotten out of as the older we get, the less I want to do the nicety thing, right? Mm-hmm. I know that about myself. The more open I am about my relationships and what I'm experiencing, and also the more, I will say, the less space I create for lack of truth in my life, mm-hmm. right? I'm not with that. Look, you wanna do what you do, you can do what you do. I just don't have to be part of it, mm-hmm. right? So I would say, what have you noticed has come up via that stuff? Let's say in space. Let's start with in space.
Via
you're seeking
people's goals.
Yeah, well, you're seeking of authenticity. Like as you seek being the best version of yourself, mm-hmm. how do you see that show up in your life? Or in space? I'm sorry. In
so
space
many
first.
different ways. Yeah, I think in space, it's been a learning lesson for me to see how people react to authenticity. Like a lot of the time you don't want to say something, or you don't want to do something, or you don't want to go somewhere, you don't want to talk to somebody a certain way because you're afraid of the reaction. It's not that you're afraid of how they might react, you're afraid of the reaction you made up in your head, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the negative thing. Most of the time it don't go like that. And if you're authentic and you come at the situation authentically, even if it does go bad, you still have a chance to steer it in the right direction, because your authenticity dictates that person's gonna at least hear the authenticity in it and be open to maybe their mind changing certain direction. So what I'm realizing is like love and like for me is what I had to change. A lot of the time I was trying to express love, but I was actually trying to get people to like me. And then I had to sit there in my authenticity and be like, yo, what am I actually looking for? I'm looking for the longevity and love, and I want people to feel it from me. So I don't I can't have people liking me all the time. You know, like there's gonna be
Facts.
some parts of love that are hard, some parts of love where, you know, you're a great mirror for everyone here. I'm trying to be the same. You know, I would like to be a mirror that shows you not only the good parts about yourself, but the bad parts. And a mirror never judges, you know? A mirror just is a reflection. So like
Well
I'm
said.
not trying to be judgmental either. I want to
Facts.
hear all of the things you struggle with.
Yeah.
And I want you to know you're not the only one. It's like you're not special in that.
Yeah, it's funny, right? You have people in your life who they like the current version of you, right? And the current version of you is very comfortable for them. It's convenient, and they're like, man, you know, I really like you, but really, you don't really like me. You like the convenience of me. You like how much I'll sacrifice for you. You don't like me. You like that, right? And realizing that is the difference. Like it's funny. I'm thinking back to when we had a different crew who used to do like videos and stuff with us, and they were like, "What's your word?" You were like, "Love." And I remember Whitney at the time was like, "Bullshit!"
Yeah, she
like
said,
in the background,
"Bullshit."
like lies.
I was like, "What?"
And I'm laughing because I was thinking, I was like, is it? I was like, okay, I can see why she said it was a lie, right? But I also was thinking about like, he doesn't move like he hates people. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you're moving like taking from people on a regular basis. You're moving like you do care, right? It just hadn't translated yet. So to hear you say that, I was like, damn, that's a full circle moment. Like, that's real. Real love isn't nice all the time. Real love is a great mirror. Shit, I have nothing to add to that.
I think that's what I'm bringing to
That's
the space.
why I was
is
like, damn, that's a full circle moment. That's solid.
Yeah. I'm like, a lot of the times I would not necessarily say things, and I still catch myself. It's an everyday practice. You catch myself saying like a half measure, like maybe it's this, when I know it's actually that, is kind of like holding back some of my love. Anytime that I felt like I was not saying a thing because I didn't want people to be upset with me or feel some type of negativity towards me, that's me withholding my love. You know, that's me withholding my authentic self because I don't think that you could love it. And if I'm trying to show love, I also want to receive love the same way, and that requires authenticity. And I think everyone catching in on that wave, everyone getting on that ethos is going to be beautiful, and it like has to happen as long as
that's the thing, right? Like last time we sat down, we talked about how this is a big project, right? And like I don't have this large business acumen. I don't have the structure of how this has been done previously, which is why things feel a little bit messy, which is why things don't feel like they are. The adaptations, the other things, right? And when I started putting it out there, I realized that I was manifesting different things, right? So I'll speak to people about affirmations as I walk out, what my affirmations are doing for me, right? And I remember, like, let's say 2 or 3 conversations, I can point back to different conversations with almost damn near everybody in the space where I've said something, and I have to, and I've already thought this out. I've already gotten to that point. I have an idea what's going to happen via this conversation, and that becomes that stall a lot of times for a lot of folk. Like, a lot of folk will say, well, I know it's not going to go that well, so I need for it to not go that well. Like, I can't talk about it. I can't do that because I know that's going to be a negative reaction from that person. And that space becomes the inauthentic movement, right? I don't want to go through something hard with you because I want it to be nice. And when I want it to be nice, I'm going to treat it how I want it. And this is what we refer to as manipulation, right? And now all of a sudden I'm getting out what I want by doing things that don't line up with who I really am, just what I want, right? And now I'm changing how you move because I'm giving you what you want only to get what I want, and this is now viewed as a selfish thing, right? Just recently we had a conversation about, is selfish bad? Right, and that conversation was a very interesting one as well.
That's a good one.
A lot of it being about the fact that if you think being selfish is bad, then you've never truly loved yourself well enough to make space from another person without that same feel. You get what I'm saying? If I was always nice to everybody, right, and everybody got everything they wanted from me, I would have nothing left for myself to give to someone eventually. To create something like this space, there were plenty of times I had to tell someone no, or I had to move on from a person. You were here for the first wave of trainers when I had to do that, and like, I would like you heard me say it. I was like, this sucks. I'm not happy about it, right? And then next thing you know, we double in business, right? And then the next moment I go, we were talking, and my son had just been born, and we were dealing with the stuff in my wife's postpartum. We were dealing with, like her being home and all those deficits and changes. And then I'm like, I think we might have to close our doors after the end of this month. Again, you were here for that. Then we doubled in business again. And like, most people just aren't paying attention to the work that they put in. Feel me? Like, in that moment, I'm so focused on that I can't see the rest of the conversation. The rest of the conversation is actually really simple. All the groundwork that I put in during that time showed up as a manifestation in that moment.
When you needed it.
Right, exactly. I think that's the way the universe works, because like, I think a lot of what we deal with and what we get to work through, like, I'm worried about the moment. But let's say I've been planning for the next moment. So the next moment shows up when I'm at my weakest because I have persevered.
And
right?
I think that actually is a testament to like how it works in here. We spoke at the beginning of this conversation. You come in and you're like, I want to lose 30 pounds by this date, so I look somewhere ready for my body.
Right.
That's actually not how it plays out, because the universe is involved. What ends up happening is, if you do plug in to the goals and meeting those goals, is that you get what you need when you need it. So you may hit that goal, probably won't be in that time frame, and it's not based on anything besides like you and yourself and your mindset currently. Like the person who loses 30 pounds in 3 months has a certain mindset, and if you don't have that mindset, then that's a goal that you're probably not going to reach in that time. But that doesn't mean being plugged in, the universe won't. You're not laying groundwork, and the universe will show up.
Yeah, I like to look at it like, let's say, and this is the way I've always explained it, even before I understood what I understand now. I always looked at it like a client would come in and they would say, as an example, let's just stay with the 30-pound example. The 30-pound example is really, really simple, right? The 30-pound example says, I want to lose 30 pounds, and we say, great, how much time? They say 3 months. Okay, let's use 3 months, very, very quarterly things. You lose out, and it's like, great, if you lose 10 pounds a month, you'll be at 30, right? Based on what you said, like, great. And then what we do is we take all of our experience and how we've seen it work and what we've read, the research and all the things we know, and we say, hey, based on what we know, this is a great way for you to lose 10 pounds within that time frame. Now, there's two things I find really interesting about this, because we're seeing it in our current challenge. First of all, it's amendable, right? Just because I saw it work this way doesn't mean you have to do it that way. But based on where you are, based on me being the expert, that's what happens, right? This is how it works. Step 1, step 2, step 3. This is how it works. What people will do is they'll look at step 1 and want to start at 3. And then I end up telling them, like we do with our blueprints when we set a client up for success, that it has everything to do with what you will do based on where you are. If you don't even know where you are, our conversation is mute. There's no, I can tell you, I see you here, but if you're under the illusion you're not, you're going to have a very unsuccessful journey. I've noticed, based on how we've done things, like at the beginning, we were getting people talking about losing 20, 30 pounds, like just talking about losing weight, because that's what they were used to hearing. And of course, we still have people who come in the door who will say that. But I've noticed, I'd say about a good 3/4 of the clientele here are here to move, feel better, and let that be part of it, right?
Be healthier and happier.
Healthier and happier is a mind state shift that has allowed a lot of people to actually be better, right? Having someone come in and be like, I'm gonna move the smallest weight possible, and then they end up being like really pushing themselves because they're showing up and saying, this ain't enough. And then having someone who's constantly mirroring for you and your journey, it kind of makes you look at what you're really doing versus what you say you want to do, right? So I noticed that was something we do really well, but at the same time, again, it's like a project. I don't feel like we do it well enough, but I do feel like it can be done.
I agree.
In bigger excellence. Well, you know, those are usually our conversations we're having about clientele. Also, biggest one, your clients are a reflection of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So if you're inconsistent as a coach, I hold this all the time. If there's inconsistency in my clients, it's, of course, my clients have done something inconsistent, but normally it's because they see inconsistency in me.
Mm-hmm.
My clients see me go like on track, doing the things, setting up the way I'm supposed to. Man, they don't miss, right? I look down, I'm like, man, you guys are really killing it. And they're like, well, you know, Tasha used to say, part of the reason I can come in and work so hard is because before we come in, you were already at work. And that meant a lot to me. And other people have mirrored and echoed the same thing. It's not always easy to get here or before everybody else, right? But you're dealing with the same stuff, the same struggles, the same things. So to see me persevere then becomes something where you start to visualize it as being possible.
Part of your thing.
Yeah.
And that's, honestly, I just had this whole moment while you were speaking about how what this brave space provides. Another thing it provides is, I think it gets us back to our inner child. You've been talking this past month about play a lot and how adults don't play enough.
Yeah. Yep.
I think first off, having a brave space where you can't hide is like, that's what kids do. Like, kids call you out on a thing. They call themselves out on everything. If you on the playground.
I got called out today, but it wasn't really like a call out, but it was.
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was
Let me tell you about yourself, respectfully.
That's exactly what she said. That is exactly what she said.
Goodness. But yeah, I think getting back to that playground mentality, like, I spent so much time on the playground, and this reminds me, it feels like an adult playground. I get to see people, doing things they didn't think they could do, coming in here, and that's the one thing about kids. It's like they watch more than they listen.
Yes, sir.
So
absolutely.
We can talk all day, but you just being in here, doing the work, being consistent. Yeah. Of course, your clients are going to show up consistent because this is a brave space, and they've gotten to this point where they can revert to their inner child and play. And when you're there, we're watching more than we're listening.
See, this is before the camera was on, we were talking about. I was like, I feel like we got to reconnect with people more, just because, like, they're not necessarily here for me, but at the same time, what I have to offer this community is exactly what they're here for. Yeah. And I always say it, like, they're like, well, what makes your space different? And then, sure, the owner can be the secret sauce a little bit, but really it's what that owner creates, right? And the reason why I think our space is different is because my message is consistency. It's not quick fix. It's not change tomorrow. It's not you will be better after X amount of time. It's literally consistency, and via that we've helped people make those changes. So like, yeah, even today when she did mention it, I was like, next week I'm in. Again, join in with me, right? And she was like, why next week? I was like, because I've already set up for this week. I'm good for this week. This is what it means to plan. I can't do it until this, not in good conscience. And she goes, okay, and held me to it. And having someone, like, it's like having a trainer who tells you how to train who doesn't train, right? And that's why so many people hate it. Now, don't get me wrong. There can be a plus-size trainer who's just as knowledgeable as the skinny one, way more knowledgeable, as a matter of fact. But most people don't even know what they want to go in for. Like, let's say I want to look beach ready, summer body ready, right? And if I do, that's fine. But at the same time, if I hire the guy who looks summer body ready and he doesn't know how he got there, then it doesn't do me any good. I need to hire a trainer. Let's say they don't even have to be summer body ready, but they understand it. Finding that perfect balance in the middle. Yes, you look like you train or work out. You have strength to you, but you also look really great with your shirt off. That's what I think is big. So like watching that class, like in here, I think we do a really good job of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Where you can train next to your coach. You come at 6 o'clock, they train next to you, right? I was actually talking about doing more of that myself as I've gotten away with training from the community, because again, the way I train and what I look for and how involved I am. But I do think the community needs to see me doing things where they get to see that we practice what we preach.
And I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking with John about how you got to, and with Darnell, about how you got to certain levels. And I hear you talk about it. It's like my hand was messed up. I got it this strong by doing this. I used to suck at jumping. I got better at jumping by doing this. And then like I've see every so often how intense your workouts are, and I think there's a sect of these kids playing in here. I know I'm down to just push it to that next level and actually be there, because you're saying this fixed the patterns that were off in you, and that's like I think there's people here who want to fix their patterns. Like I know if my patterns aren't there, I want to fix them. Yeah,
got it. Yeah, and I think that's big. Like it's big to know. I said it yesterday. I said we were talking about passing back and forth, or like learning from one another, not just you come in and you get from me. And that's where the community aspect comes from. I'm not just like, to me, I'd be like, nobody want to work out with the old dog like that, and then we'll do something and then we'll work out and I'll watch y'all all go and I'm like, damn. Or I'll watch y'all train. Like this running thing got me jacked up, right? Because I'm not a fast runner. Like, and again, most of the people are like, oh, you got to be fast because if I did it, yeah, but put me under something for more than a minute and I'm fucking gassed. Like I'm actually breathing hard. I'm actually not feeling like I'm going back to the days where I couldn't breathe, right? When I go too fast for too long.
Yeah.
And like having people that push that, like shouts out to Sarah. Sarah Rutherford be trying to fucking push me all the time. And she wants me to push her. And she's like, no, I want that, right? And me, I'm over here like, it means I gotta like do it again, right? Like in my head, I'm like, I don't want to do it again. As I say, I'm unhappy with where I am, right? Like I'm not exactly where I want to be. Fair. So like knowing that, and that knowing that things have become stale because I refuse to take those routes, and then those routes pop up, and I go, why am I fighting this, right? Everyone
because you don't want to do it. But.
Yeah, exactly. But I know what could come from it could be amazing. So like, and what happens? I'm gonna speak for myself on this one. What happens for me is I think about all the stuff I had to give up. Like for instance, we've been talking. I've avoided 3 calls, right?
Yeah.
Moments missed can become very, very bad things, and that does become the hang up for people. So realizing that there's value in what you're doing enough to where those moments can wait is hard. And so for me, bringing it back to what we're talking about, for me to lock in that way means that I don't get to be home with my son.
Do other things.
I don't, right. I have to give up something in order to get this amazing gratitude or gratefulness, right? My time building the space, or like building myself as an individual could be time away from the space, which means the space may not be getting that. It's those things, it's those moments. So creating balance has always been the name of the game for me, but I think a lot of people think it just comes naturally, and it does not.
Now, how do you feel about like the practice of balance? So I think a lot of the time when we talk about balance, in my head it's like steady things are balanced, but in practice for me it's been like seasons. Things are up or down, you know, like seasons I'm working on myself professionally, like in here, and then seasons I have to work on myself outside of here.
Fair. So
and to bring it to the other side, you know?
Got you. I would say I have thresholds. Like I would use percentages. So like let's say a fulfilled life is 100%, right? And again, that's always the case. Yeah. Always the case, right? Like it's always 100% is satisfied.
That's just math,
right? So when we start applying math, I'm going to use 4 categories. Let's say faith, family, business, and then fitness. These are my 4 categories, right? Are these things intricately tied? Of course they get me to 100%, right? Let's say ideally all these things at 25% is everything's going amazingly well. Everything's working away in this. So here's what I think makes it interesting. Again, 100% is fulfillment. If my fitness drops down to 10%, right, and I'm now at 85, right? I can pick it up in another category though. Yeah. So if my fitness drops down to 10, I could spend time with family to where like maybe it's very like major spaces for my son to grow or what have you, and that becomes the other 15% added, so I can spend time watching him become the young man he's supposed to be. Right? I'm still fulfilled. I'm just not fulfilled over here. This isn't fulfilled. This one thing doesn't feel like fulfillment, but my life in and of itself is still fulfilled. Yes. So taking the difference I feel like just getting to 100% is the name of the game. So if your seasons switch, like not spending time with my family to build more here, as we have been doing, is not fun in the moment, but it's fulfilling, right? So I think I'm going to speak for myself as an individual. I do that. I do that all the time. I have to weigh the pros, the cons, and then I don't want to get up and train. But if I get up and train, then it'll motivate this community, which has a large benefit. So now I'm not looking at it as me being closer to 25% of my fitness. I'm looking at it as being, when it comes to business, I'm looking at the 5% over by being there, and that becomes my balance. So like I think they're all intricately tied. But I also think that ebb and flow makes absolute sense for all of them. It's just how they move and what I do when they move, right? If I lose some here, where do I pick it up? That's how I look at it. That makes sense.
And never drop any one of those categories to zero?
I have in the past dropped those categories to zero, but it never felt like fulfillment. It felt like horrible lack, like so much lack that I had trouble even dragging myself out of bed. Will I say that there aren't times it gets very close? That'd be a lie. But like, and I'll halfway talk about it. When my wife was dealing with postpartum, it was very hard to be here, right? But as I dragged myself here every single day, as my wife was in the hospital, possibly not gonna make it, and I'm coming in every single day. Like I remember people being like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." Like I didn't lie. I wasn't like, "Yeah, I'm fucking fine." Stop asking me that. I was just like, "Nah, not really, but I'm here." And I was like, I got to get through this, right? Like that was my mindset at the time. I watched so many people think that it's just gonna be okay, right? Like they're just like eventually it'll turn around with like, let's say little to no effort or action, right? We've talked about this before. If my wife didn't make it, my whole life changes. There's no, this one person who I've come to rely on a regular basis is now gone. Financially, my situation is different. Physically, my situation is different. Mentally, I'm probably pretty destroyed because I really cared about this person. What keeps me on the rails during the time where I lose a major part of my life? It's that 100%. It's that ability to persevere, right? Resilience. And again, I don't look at it as like I watched a friend almost try to disassociate their ability to push through with what was happening. It's not what I'm saying doing. Like again, you guys saw me through that. I was not okay some days. There were some days I was barely here, but I was here, and then I would have to go collect myself and then come back out so I could be here. And that time was probably one of the harder times that this community got to see from me. But like, I can't tell you the number of times we went home or not home, but like I'd go pick up people who wanted to see her because again, we didn't know. So like people are like trying to do everything to make it easier for her so she can actually rest and not be anxious. But it's creating more anxiety for me. I'm more anxious than ever because now I have to go pick this person up. I have to plan for this. The house has to be okay. I got to feed the kids. I got to take care of these things. Now I got to cart y'all back and forth based on your schedules and my availability. And like, I remember it probably happened for about 3 days where we were worried, like really worried. And I cried in the car almost every single time we went there. I'd let everybody out and I would just scream in my car, trying to release all the tension that I was dealing with putting in there. Because once I went in there, I couldn't be vulnerable. That was not the time, the space, or place to be vulnerable. So it wasn't about not wanting to be vulnerable, because so many people confuse that. So many people think it's like, I don't want to cry. No, I watched my wife not even be able to help herself. And she's so ashamed and so angry. And I'm angry that she's angry. It's like a whole thing happening, right? At one time. And I still got to keep it together. Because if I break while she's breaking, I don't know how we're going to do this.
We're broken.
We're just broken up, man. Yeah, man. So a lot of what I think works for folk has to do with stuff like that. I don't think a lot of people really take the time to get to know themselves well enough to be able to persevere in those moments. And if you've never been consistent when it was easy, then how do you become consistent when it's hard?
Damn.
Right? That's what I like our whole message is here, right? My hard times, my times where I stood up when no one else did, or when I stood on the side of what may not be popular in those moments.
Because you had practice.
I had been practicing way before that, showing up when I didn't want to, having the conversations I didn't want to, meeting with people when I wasn't even sure if it was to my benefit. I sat with a friend and was like, I don't know if this even makes sense to you. My first time meeting with a videographer, I was gonna open and I just was like, listen, I feel like I'm just supposed to be talking to you, so I am. I can't afford you, but I can train you. And I don't know if that's gonna be even worth anything to you. I didn't even know my value in that moment. You know what I'm saying? But we're sitting here having a conversation about value. This dude he did some of the most amazing projects in Rochester. He like worked for the mayor's office on call to make video. Like, he's really good. And he goes, okay. And I'm like, okay? He's like, okay. I'm like, all right. Very weird exchange, just okay after I like talked for 20 minutes. But this dude showed up every day and trained. And not only did I learn videography from him, but he was probably my first employee experience. So he helped me shape how I treat all of you. And believe me, he was an arrogant little something. Feel me? But when he say we doing this, we doing this. When he say it's gonna look good, it looked good. That arrogance was earned. I gotta be honest. When it came to being a videographer, ain't many better than that guy. Fair? So confidence or cocky, in line, right? So I used to, again, for people who are trying to figure it out, like, you will not be consistent in hard times if you cannot be consistent in easy times. And being consistent allowed for me to be there for them in spite of how I felt, because I had practiced way before showing up in spite of how I felt. I had practiced knowing that I don't want to do this thing. Every time I came to the gym, I practiced not wanting to do something, but doing it because I saw how it would be beneficial. Right? Every time I go running, at least twice a week, I'm like, nah, I don't need to do that today. I could stay home. But the benefit of staying home becomes the strength I don't have. And there's no way I'd be as strong as I am today if I didn't show up for myself as well as this community. So let's get some consistency, man. Shit.
Consistency. It'll change your life. I had none coming in here. I really had none. I was out on the street corners dancing.
That's not a joke. That's really not a joke. There's videos of him dancing on the street, but like for himself, not for money or no crazy shit. Like for himself, right? But
it's just for me.
It's one of those funny things, and that's an exchange too, because it led to me understanding the joy I let go.
Yeah.
Right. Like we talk about that. You didn't even know. You were like, really?
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know either. Right. You came along, and if our egos had been involved, neither one of us would have these gifts today.
Facts.
You get what I'm saying? It's just too many people walking around and wanting to be offended and not wanting to be consistent. We wouldn't even be having this conversation today if we weren't consistent with ourselves. Fair? So it's like one of those things to like look at how far you've come, but also how far you got to go.
Yeah, that part.
You know? That's like, yeah, we've had to talk about that too. We talk about a lot of stuff in this space. We gonna end the video here, because if we don't end the video here, it'll be like another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All right? But again, we appreciate you guys. If you do tune in, like and share this stuff, man. Like, we as coaches really give a damn. And I think we cover some pretty big topics for people in fitness and outside. Please let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Peace.